speaker from Beijing, from Beijing is Professor Wen Tiejun. He is the professor at Renmin University of China Institute of Advanced Studies for Sustainability. We're very pleased, and he's also a close friend of our university, our department. We're very pleased to have Professor Wen here this morning to talk to us about China. So our session, we have 1.5 hours, so the lecture itself will be around an hour, and then we have plenty of time for comments and questions and answers. So turn over to you, Professor Wen.
Yeah, thank you. And happy to be a speaker of this session. But I'm happy to give the explanation about the current situation in China. And everybody can hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good. And you know that the situation in China is very complicated and aroused a lot of different ideas and different arguments. Nowadays, I think that the critical issue for our forum, for all the participants, we need to renew our thought, our thinking way. In the end, we may have somehow the more clear analysis on the complicated situation. I mean, and the mainstream nowadays turn back to the conservatives. That is a very popular phenomenon in not only China but also the world. And nowadays, even these very popular propaganda and ideologies, now they all change the contents, became a kind of a part of the mainstream conservative. I mean, turn the mainstream back to the conservative. It's not some people mentally crazy. It's because of the world economy, the world political situation is now more and more became a kind of crazy situation. That is very important because I several times emphasize nowadays the global competition, not the individual competition, not the enterprises competition, but the countries, the state. I mean, the state and the country join the competition in name of globalization. That is a so-called post-Cold War phenomenon. Means that if you think that the whole global issues into one stream, you can think that almost all the countries join this competition globally. If any participants, any competitor in this global competition can be in name of loser, that the loser means that the country lose. The losing country, not mean the individual, not mean the enterprises. You can think about the situation. Nowadays, like Iraq, like Syria, and Libya, and nowadays turn to the Venezuela, and next maybe Brazil, maybe Turkey. So when we do our studies on these comparative in the global and the comparison in the global competition, we may find that the loser is not the individual, the loser is the country. So that is why I must emphasize, first, I must emphasize nowadays the global competition joined not by individual, not by enterprises, but by the country. So if the country joined, if we think that is important, is a critical issue, we may know that what is the reason why the globalization joined by the country, not by the enterprises? It's because nowadays globalization means a global financialization. The financial capital is indeed a kind of credit created or made only by the state power, by the country's power. If we say country, I don't think that is a very appreciate, very how to say that it's applied to this to cover the whole situation. I said that the states means that the governments. So any country, if you have a strong state power, and then the state can empower the currency system and empower the government's bond system. So means that the strong financial capital exactly come from the strong state power. So nowadays, the financial capital global competition at the back is the state power competition in the world. So that is a post-Cold War. Originally, the Cold War is to apply the competition of these two polar power. One is the Soviet Union, another one is the United States. They both control two allies, and then that is a Cold War competition. What is the post-Cold War? Post-Cold War means the Soviet Union collapsed, and all the countries originally joined the Soviet Union ally, all became losing country, means the loser. The country became the losers. So Soviet Union became losers, means nowadays Russia could hardly be regeneration, economically and politically. And other East Asian, originally in name of socialist countries, former socialist countries, all gave up. It means a socialist country all be loser country, the losing countries, all be the losers. That is the Cold War ended. And nowadays, the new loser is that these countries who want to claim their natural resources with their natural sovereignty, means that the country want to use their state power to control their natural resources. That is the participants of the Cold War, post-Cold War. And one by one, they defeated, they failed, and then they became loser country. Like these natural resources controlling by the state, like Iran, Russia, Venezuela, Brazil, and Iraq, and Syria, and Libya. Most of these are losers. The reasonable reason is that they have some mass-killing weapon on their dedicated system and whatever. That is propaganda, that's ideology, that's post-war, post-Cold War ideology. But indeed, all these loser country, it's a country to be the loser. The main reason is that these countries want to use their own state power to control their own natural resources, and then to benefit by selling these natural resources. I hope you understand the world competition nowadays, not exactly like these post-Cold War ideology to give the propaganda and buy their mass medias to tell you that it's because of some countries the human rights are not good, some countries because of dedicated system, some countries a totalitarian system. No, it's because only one key issue is that they want to control their own natural resources to benefit by this controlling. That is very important. I think that you'd better take into the consideration. And why they have to be the loser is that the financial capital cannot make any penny as a profit by financial capital itself. Who is the financial capital country? Certainly the first one is the United States. And the United States used two hands to handle two continents. One is to use the UK. UK issue large number of the bonds, UK bonds. UK bonds can keep the high volume, even more higher than United States dollar. It's because UK is a handle, it's a tool to be used by US, and then to play the game with EU, with the EU as a continent. The second handle is Japan. So Japanese yen applied to US dollar to play the game with the Asia continent. So the US dollar system to be the power, to be the fastest financial capital power, not only by himself, not by US itself, but also by their two allied countries. One is UK, another is Japan, to play the game with these two continents. So this time, I suppose that UK just Brexit to EU is a very, very interesting phenomenon that is not only harm the EU, but also harm the US, and means that the handle doesn't work. And the Japan nowadays, they also want to have their somehow not perfect, but little bit independent currency policy, independent money policy, because Japan also facing very big challenge of the bubbleized financial capital competition. So Japan want to be a little bit independent in their financial policy. Since the year 2012, when Abe to be the leader of Japan. So there is originally US control these two handle to play the game with two continents. That is okay. The winner is only one, that is US. Now UK and Japan all want to be the winner. So they do have some little bit independent or semi-independent money policy or financial policy, and then to stir up a new trouble. But that is to enforce, give a very heavy pressure to US, turn the US power from the financial capital power into military power. That is why more and more regional conflicts became dangerous of the regional war. So South China Sea is one hot point, and Turkey is also a hot point, and other Near East and Middle East countries now became more and more dangerous of the regional conflicts. It's not caused by themselves, by the regional issues inside. No, it's mainly impact by this the macro situation, by the global financial capital crisis. And then let's do more analysis about financial capital bubbleize the crisis. Not only US. You know that if US can use their big power to empower the US dollar system, to enlarge the financial capital, be the biggest one in the world, it means that others also can learn this experience. This model is not so difficult, because if you issue the paper currency, if you enlarge the financial capital with very low cost, even no cost, because that if you print out the paper currency, you need to pay 5% as the real cost. But if you create e-money by internet, you have no cost. So it means that the financial capital by internet can be enlarged, unlimited. Understand me? If you use computer, if you use internet as a world system, you can reduce your cost to 0. Means that little cost, but big return. That is a kind of bubbleized financial capital, originally caused by almost 0 cost. So if you are the leading country, if you control the power, you can do it to have very big returns. So that is since 2008, Wall Street financial turmoil is taking place. And then Obama governments use QE, means that quantitative easing is the main policy to deal with the Wall Street financial turmoil. And very successful. They transfer out all the financial capital cost to the world, and then to make 38 countries to be the 100 country. It's because of large number of QE, the liquidity, flow to the future markets to make the green price increase 100 times. 100%, not 100 times. 2 times than before, 100%. It means these are poor countries cannot buy food from the green markets and then to feed their people. So there are 3,800 countries. Means that the leading country, the financial capital country, more easy to transfer out their cost. Originally, the financial crisis happened in their country, but they are easier to transfer the cost out to the leading country, to others, especially to the poor countries. So when Americans succeeded by QE policy, certainly other financial capital countries want to follow. And then EU, these European countries, they are strategic ally of United States. So United States allow them copy US policy. So there is a follow the US in the 2009, 2010, these 2 years. EU start to use the same policy as American QE. That is 2010. And then EU use QE to solve the problem of their poison debts by the government's budget. So you all know that since the 2009, EU country, especially Southern EU, South European countries, became a kind of peg, the Euro peg. They all caused by the very highly pressure of the budget debts. That is a poison. And then to turn to the whole Europe. And Europe solved the problem by QE. That means a Euro version QE, but exactly caused by, originally created by US. So US did it in the year 2008, 2009, and then EU did it since 2010. And 2 years later, 2012 and 2013, Japan copied this policy. So there's a Japanese version QE happening in Asia. So happened in Europe in 2010, happened in Asia 2012. So when these 3 big brothers, US, EU, Japan, big brothers in financial capital, all have the same policy, now turn to China. Because large number of the liquidity created by EU, by Japan, by United States, all flow into China as a foreign direct investments. You know FDI. FDI, most of the developed countries all welcome, open the door, welcome FDI, foreign direct investments. When this became a flood, flow into these developing countries, to make these developing countries have the similar problems like China, where China control the money market. Any penny of FDI invested into China immediately bought by central bank, the Chinese People's Bank or People's Bank of China, the CBC. So when Chinese bank, central bank, buy these foreign investments, means that the same exchange rate issue Chinese currency. Means that paper to paper. If you give me 1 penny as a paper, I issue the paper inside. So that is the Chinese game. Means that Chinese money became the big bubble by FDI. Let me give you more words to explain, because most of you have no such kind of basic knowledge about Chinese money system. And since China want to join WTO, the most critical negotiation taking place between China and the US. At that time, the Chinese leader, Premier Zhu Enlai and President Jiang Zemin, they both emphasize we open to the world, means open to United States, to Western countries. One thing we need to emphasize, that's capital control. So when China want to accelerate joint WTO, that is the year 1998. And the United States played the game, make a trick, to accelerate Taiwan join WTO, finish all the negotiation in the year 1997, 1998, and then set up the block to block China join WTO. That's the play, the strike game. Allow Taiwan join WTO before mainland. So the China separated two parts, gave a big chance to Western countries to play game between two China. One is Taiwan and another is mainland. So to enforce Chinese mainland government, accelerate the negotiation with Western countries, give up their conditions, give up their profits, give more profits to the Western countries. That is that time the Chinese leadership make a decision for accelerating access WTO. We got to give up our profit, our benefits, our interest to Western countries. But only one thing Chinese must insist, that is a controlled capital. So the money, free convertible, Chinese said no. And foreign investments directly invest into the capital market, stock market, Chinese said no. So only control the financial capital. So you know that is a very important background. It's late 1990s. In the end, 2001, American allowed China, both two sides, allow Taiwan and the mainland join WTO. Mainland first, but only one key break. means the same half day before tea break, mainland China joined WTO. After tea break, Taiwan joined WTO. That is a typical game. So both two sides Chinese. Nowadays, nobody gives the analysis about this tea break access WTO. That is a kind of very trivial thing. Both sides need to understand we all play by is a so-called Western game. And up to now, no any mainstream politicians, scholars, and even medias do any exposure about this game. So Taiwan cannot maintain their economic sovereignty. So all gave up. Mainland China have a very difficult negotiation, finally maintain the key sovereignty economically. That is control the money markets and the stock markets. Means that financial capital control. It's because 1997 financial turmoil happened in East Asian countries. Only China survived. Only one. Hong Kong survived it's because of in 1997 reunified by mainland China. So Chinese central governments gave permission to Hong Kong. No matter how much is a speculated money flow into Hong Kong, mainland China back up. So nowadays, the Hong Kong mainstream scholars only believe that we have a free market system, and then we win. It's nonsense. Financial capital control, that is a key sovereignty of any country. Some people from Korea, you may know that 1997 what happened in your country. Some people from Thailand, you also know that what happened in your country in 1997. If you allow free convertible, means that you allow this speculation, this hot money, free take any benefits from your country. You lose your key sovereignty economically for protect your country in the financial capital competition. That is why I got to emphasize such kind of story for your memory. You can remember what happened in 1990s. And then, if you're from Latin American countries, you may know that the beginning of this new century, just 2001, what happened in Latin American countries, and also what happened in Russia. Before Putin controlled Russia, before Putin to be the president, Russia is also open all the markets. Latin American countries also open all the markets, including the financial markets. And then you are more easier to be attacked, to be destroyed, your financial system by this hot money. Because hot money is more easy, zero cost, created by the leading country. By the financial capital competition, that is free market. So once a time, when we have a discussion, I said, new liberalism is the new conservatism, not liberalism. The liberalism never means freedom. The liberalism, since 1980s, want the financial capital to be the independent power, first in United States and then in EU. You should understand, liberalism never be or should not be or must not be the liberal, not be the freedom. Again, since 1980s. In the beginning of new century, it shows that the truth of the new liberalism changed their contents is essential into the fascist system, into the financial fascist system. To break all your borders. You will have no border. To protect your people, to protect your own economic sovereignty. By such kind of free markets. Free means that release any control, allow foreign bubble capital as a hot money to attack your own property. You have, no matter how much properties you created, will be vanished, will be lost in one night, or in one day, or in 1 week. That is, I need to more explanation to you. I need to give you more explanation to understand what I described here. So, in China, fortunately or unfortunately, fortunately means that you still can have against. You can issue your own paper. You can create low-cost money as a bubble to against the other bubble. Means that you use the same method to play the game with the foreign capital. But unfortunately means that you created a big bubble inside. That is a big bubble. That is a lot of hot money created by your own self, by your own governments, your own power. And then where they gone? Only one way they can go. It means that going to the bubble economy. So the first, you know that nowadays the Chinese situation, it's almost the same as the Western countries. Large number of the financial credit created by central governments against dollar flow inside, or euro flow inside, or Japanese yen flow inside. Anyway, it's a foreign capital flow inside as a FDI, foreign direct investments. When they come in, you need to issue the same quantity. Means that there is a Chinese version, QE, quantitative easing, by FDI. And also, think about it, China is the biggest industrial country, made a lot of commercial goods, exports, and then have a current account. You know, that is not deficit, it's a current account surplus. All the current account surplus in dollar, in euro, or in other currency, all need to come back to be the RMB yuan. So these are two resources, means that China, the central controlled money system, need to create same quantity, same amount as is a foreign capital flow in, same amount. So these years, Chinese created, the Chinese central bank created many trillions. You know, trillions is a big number. Trillions Chinese money inside China. This money, where is money gone? Or where to go? Flow into the real estate. If you, I mean Hong Kong people or some others, if you have some good policy to invest into Chinese real estate markets. So if you have an apartment or if you have some house in China, now maybe 5 times or maybe even more volume added. So you have nominally in your name you have a big properties, but it's just a nominally properties. Sufficiently, not indeed. Apartments still be there. There's one apartment, still be one apartment. not means that you have a fire. But the properties, the volume increased, double or 3 times, even 5 times, even more. It's because of large number of the money created and then flow into the real estate market. And then by such kind of phenomena, follow is what? Is almost all productions, these factories, cannot have the profits. So most of these entrepreneurs, this money owner, if I have money, I got to do the portfolio investments. So I need to take money from my factory, because factory can have only very low profit, low interest. So I take the money, invest it into real estate. It means I destroyed my real production. So the factory, a lot of thousands factory bankrupted. Thousands of laborers laid off, no work. So the real economy became decreased. And then the bubble economy very fast increased. That is not only happening in the world, in Western countries, but also happening in China. So that is why we do our analysis. We said these years, since the 2015, we have to facing the new challenge of the 10th economic crisis. So that is our current situation. Is there any traditional thinking way can facing the challenge, can solve the problem? No way. So that is why I gave the first words. So we need to renew our thoughts, renew our thinking way. I think it's a critical issue. Especially these intellectuals, if you involve of some social movements, you do have your responsibility to give the explanations to the participants of this social organization, these social movements. Tell them that you are now facing the new challenge. Don't try to use the same propaganda, the old fashions, the traditional thoughts, the traditional Marxism. If Marx still be alive, when he facing the new challenge, he himself must change his thought. If you said you want to insist on Marxism, you need to renew your thoughts. Accept that you are not. So if you do want to help these social movements, try to tell them that we need to facing the new challenge. We need to have a new thought. So what is new thought? Just give up this propaganda by post-Cold War ideology. Almost all the mainstream, all the NGO now duplicate the post-Cold War ideology. It's a very big harm to the social movements. Nowadays, if you go to South Asia, if you go to the North Africa, or if you go to Latin American countries, when you meet these the leaders of the social movements, they all talk very traditional, very old ideology. And then they became a part of the mainstream post-Cold War ideology. That is the danger. That is a new challenge to all of us. If you have a new knowledge, you cannot renew your knowledge to know what is essential of the financial capital. What is the bubbleized financial capital crisis? How is a financial capital only can rely on the military power, the political regime, If you cannot understand the financial capitalist fascist system is originally created by the key issue of the financial itself, the financial capital itself. You may not have the explanation about this complicated world situation. So also cannot give the explanation about the Chinese situation. Now let's turn to the what? 一带一路 is what?
One belt, one road.
One belt,
one road.
One belt, one road. Okay. Anyway, what is that? What is the AIIB? According to our research, we found that nowadays China now stands at the cross. One way is just to follow the United States to enlarge the bubble and then going to the hell. That is a financial capital created, the big hell. It's a 黑洞, it's a black hole in the heaven. Can take almost all the benefits inside and then vanish. That is one way. Another way, maybe we can say this ecological civilization. Few correspondent scholar outside China follow this way. What is the ecological civilization? Nowadays, in China, we are the participants and we are the volunteers of the rural reconstruction movements. We aim to ecological civilization. We are trying to regenerate our traditional culture in countryside. It's not backward. It's much more modernization. More modernized than the way going to financial capital hell. We are going to ecological civilization. But no matter who or whoever, no matter you want, you need to know that nowadays China is the biggest industrialized country in the world. China facing the big challenge is overproduction. In the 1998, China facing the first overproduction as the crisis. Nowadays, in 2015 to 2016, China facing the second overproduction. If you know the overproduction, you may know that this turned the Western countries into the Second World War. It's because of the overproduction happened in 29 to 33 in Western countries. That is last century. Millions of people died. More than 200 million people died in the Second World War. And then Second World War turned to the Cold War, and then turned to post-Cold War. That is a Western way. If you want to follow these Western thoughts, that is the way. But it's a big lesson to the human being, to the whole human being society. Now, China facing the two, Western countries have 2 times overproduction. One happened in the 1930s, second one happened in the 1960s to the 1970s. Turn to the financial capital. That is a Western way. Now China facing the new challenge of the overproduction. First happened in 1998. And then China turned their excess industrial capital into 3 rebalance strategy. That's the coastal China, inland China rebalance, and the urban and the rural rebalance. Nowadays it's a poor and rich rebalance. They have done 2, now the 3rd means poor and rich rebalance. That is a national strategy. They are trying to change this big excess industrial capital into the social construction. But nobody in Western country outside China gave any report about these three national strategy for rebalance, even inside. So maybe you first hear my explanation about these three national strategies. And then nowadays, the second time overproduction, combining the big excess, big surplus of the financial capital. So now they're facing the same challenge, financial capital excess and industrial capital excess. This is a big challenge to China now. So China turned this one by one road, means that they are trying to set up a kind of international financial bank or instruments to turn this big surplus financial capacity for facilitating the big excess, big surplus of the industrial capital to West Asia, to South Asia, to Southeast Asia, to Mid-South Asia, and then to Middle East, and then to Africa, and then to Europe. Maybe East Europe, maybe Russia, and so on and so on. Means that originally China invests large amount of the money to bring the financial capital of industries into the infrastructure construction for solving the problem of unbalance between rural and urban, between coastal and inland. It's successful. Now they are trying to copy such kind of experience in other big continent. You know, Euro-Asia is a big continent. They want to help to facilitate the infrastructure construction in other countries. Maybe they were right, maybe they were wrong. But anyway, turn this big surplus of the industrial capital into the construction, not into the war. It's a big progress of the world. That is different way of the capitalism. Even you are inside of capitalism, that is a historical era. You cannot jump out because that is like you hold your 头发 out of the earth. It's impossible. You are now inside of the human being's history in name of capitalism. The only way is to change the capital way. The capital not towards to the military competition and then to the world war. You change this big industrial capital into the infrastructure construction. It's somehow better than the Western way. So that is the analysis of the one Belt One Road of AIIB. That is because it's different of Western way. Certainly aroused a lot of trouble of Western media and then give more critique. Because everybody, it's easy to understand. If this kind of strategy can be succeed, means that the capitalism in West, that is Western model capitalism, failed. You all be a loser country. We don't need you. We don't need to use your bubble financial capital. We only use our, it's also bubble, but we are trying to realize this financial capital into the construction. I go back to my key point, by country, by state-owned enterprises, not by private enterprises, not by individual. So most of this Western philosophy based on the individualization. but Oriental philosophy based on group, on community, on common interest. So we have to use the Western words. They make discord. We don't have the power to make discord. So we have to use these Western words. Even I gave you my explanation, I got to use the English. I feel shame. We cannot make another explanation, another mainstream. I'm very embarrassed to use these words, this language. But I have to. So I have to end my my speaking and welcome any critics. And because I'm very familiar with all different challenges, so you can criticize me. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Wen. So the floor is now open for comments and questions. I guess we have to use this technology. So I ask that you, those of you who would like to raise a question or a comment, speak slowly and try to be very focused on what you want to say. All right? Oh, okay. So let's have a comment from Francois.
Thank you.
Excuse me, from where? Okay.
Yes, thank you very much, Wen. Very interesting. My question is the following. In Latin America, China is very present now. Of course, in mining activities, but also in infrastructure projects, especially of infrastructure, construction of railroads or roads, etc. Is that related with what you said at the end, the policy of investing in infrastructure, not only in China, but also outside?
Yes. And that is why I emphasize the investments in other countries, including of Latin American countries, mainly for infrastructure construction, to improve the basic condition for these countries. But you know that it may not be succeed. It's because of most of these Latin American countries, including of African countries, now they still be in the trap of single economy as post-colonized Europe. You know that originally these colonial master countries, they take power as the financial investments and also take power of the currency reserve. So they control the financial capital as a kind of tool, as a kind of weapon to control Latin American countries. Nowadays, most of Latin American countries facing the big challenge of the budget deficits, including of Venezuela and almost all the left-wing party-controlled governments, all have the similar situation. That is a very heavy burden of the social payments and the social expense, but very little budget. So the budget deficits is a very serious problem. So if there is another country not like United States, like China, invest into your infrastructure construction means that partially replace the government's ability, government's function. Originally, the investments into the infrastructure construction is a public, should take the responsibility by the governments. But the government's budget is a deficit. So that means you give a part of the public resources to the investors. That is the China side. So it means that China takes some natural resources, development, the natural resources, and also take the responsibility as your governments for the infrastructure construction. means that benefits both sides. So that is why I said nowadays, the global competition joined by the country, not by enterprises. So if the country situation can be improved, means that country strengthen your base, strengthen your power for the global competition. So that is my key point. I hope that you can give more explanation when you go back to your country, to your governments, and to your media and the scholar society.
Thank you. Would you please just say your name?
Yeah.
Slowly.
Hi, Tiejun. This is Pedro Paez from Ecuador. Very good
I know
to see
you.
you. Very good to see you, even if just through this video conference.
Okay.
I'd like to ask you your how do you perceive the rapprochement between China and Great Britain, especially after the visit of the Chinese president to London in November 2015. The attempt for the HSBC and the whole fraction of the City of London financiers to return to Hong Kong, and the role of the recently built up shadow banking here in China. Thank you.
Sorry, I haven't caught you. If anybody can help me to translate.
Should I repeat it slowly?
Slowly, please.
Okay.
I suppose some people help me to translate.
Okay, let me go again slowly. How do you see the new financial conditions in terms of the global circuit of finance and liquidity and credit, of the new relationships between Great Britain and China, including the visit of the Chinese president to London in November 2015, the reassignment of the global strategy of HSBC, the former Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation, and the role of the recently built shadow banking in China as a part of the strategy of globalization of the renminbi. Was clear?
Sorry that I cannot give you a full answer. It means that I don't know the information about shadow bank, but I do know that China needs to sign the mutual commitment with almost all of these broad countries around China, and also sign the commitment with these financial capital countries like UK. Because nowadays, if you want to use the AIIB as a kind of international financial instrument to facilitate your infrastructure investments outside China, you need to learn a lot of know-how, a lot of techniques. But nowadays, we don't have such kind of specialist, these expertise. So they got to sign some commitment with these country like UK. Is because UK is a very powerful in money markets, in financial affairs. So I think that is UK also very clear to understand the situation. Any people should take the financial bubbleizing crisis as a kind of common knowledge. Every people must take it almost every day to aware, to warn yourself. We are now inside of dangers. The more we do, the more we safety. So that is why China needs not only to set up a kind of a line, it's a so-called unified frontier. The unified frontiers is an anti-Japanese war. So similar, now anti-financial capital war. It's not war, not killing people, but you need to know that you refuse, you accept it's a big cost made by the financial capital countries. So you need to set up a kind of new ally with the secondary countries, accept the power country. So that is why China need to keep the relation with UK, with South Korea, and even with Japan. Originally, I remember that I have given such kind of explanation about originally China want to set up ASEAN +1 and ASEAN +3. Means that ASEAN as a unit join the RMB system. Nowadays, they have all signed the mutual commitments with ASEAN countries. So they realize ASEAN +1. And then they want to have a kind of East Asian integration, regional integration, with all the East Asian countries, with South Korea and also with Japan, before 2012. And when an American deal with their own trouble from 2008 financial turmoil happened in Wall Street, Americans have no extra energy or extra measures to deal with East Asian issue. So China take this opportunity, want to have a regional integration by the financial capital. So they are trying to have an East Asian regional integration in name of ASEAN +3. They want to use their own currency for the regional trade. Means that the reserves in ASEAN +3 can use their own money. Japanese yuan, Korean won, Chinese yuan, or Thailand or Indonesia, whatever, you have your own money. So means that to increase your volume in different local currency, equalize the rights to almost all the regional money. That is why American announced re-step into the Asia to be the leading country. And then there's a East China Sea, South China Seas local conflicts made by United States soft power and smart power. So that is we should take as a case, as an example, to give Latin American countries to make you understand. Since 2008, financial turmoil happened in Wall Street. China has done something in regional integration in Asia, but blocked or destroyed by leading countries re-step into Asia. So that is a competition. That is a global competition, not only economic, but also political and geographically. So I hope that when you go back to Latin American countries, you'd better give the explanation to your friends, make them to understand what is nowadays world situation. It's more complicated than before. Thank you. Thanks for your question.
其实Patrick 的意思是说，大家解读不一样，因为在他昨天那个在他的认知里面，伦敦就是 City of London， 就是伦敦市中心，才是整个现在全球这个所谓金融资本主义这个中心。然后他觉得就是现在某意义上，中国跟伦敦市所形成的一个类似一个同盟的关系的话，在他的阅读里面是一种投降，是向国际资本主义投降，也是把中国推向一种国际金融资本主义的一个行为。所以温老师就是觉得只是一个其中很多一个同盟的其中一个同盟，但是就是因为大家对究竟 City of London 它这个地位，大家理解不一样，所以形成完全是对两种完全不一样的一种 reading 一种阅读。 我是解释这样，但是我觉得这大家可能最后还是没办法在这里形成了共识。但是希望大家有明白，大家在谈什么，要不然就明白。So I will try to explain to Professor Wen in your yesterday presentation. In your view, the world of the financial capitalism actually is centered into the city of London. The financier in the city of London itself really control is the major players. So in your reading, China's alliance with the city of London actually is a kind of surrender the whole financial.
Basically, Tiejun, thank you for your answer, but actually the point was for you to tell your friends in Beijing to be aware what is the real situation of the world or which are the dangers that are pending upon China and the process of recovery of China. That was more or less the point.
就是他也说，这个过程最终就已经形成一个很庞大的一个银行的一个，所以其实是他说反过来是对中国提出很大的威胁，所以他觉得反过来要不你可以中国朋友应该更有意识的这方面的威胁。
The one thing I need to emphasize, and I never deny there is an interest group inside of China control the financial capital, similar as any other countries, especially in Western countries. Most of these financial capital unit controlled by the interest group. Nowadays, if Chinese governments have no measures or no ability to control the financial capital interest group, that maybe make the big Chinese financial power set up a kind of alliance with UK financial capital power. That is also very complicated situation. And I think that we need to make not only Chinese leaders, but also other countries' leaders to aware the financial capital in the world, in anywhere, always be strong relation with the interest group. Thank you, anyway.
Professor Wen, very nice to see you here.
Thank you.
I am Sukichai from Thailand.
Okay,
Yeah,
I know you.
Thank you. Your explanation was very compelling. I much attracted by your whether we should reflect on first the road to hell, or we should reflect that we move on the road to ecological civilization. This is most attractive point that I got from your spirit for us to really rethink. Now my point is that in the area of Southeast Asia, where Chinese capital like northern Laos, there are issues like banana plantations, using a lot of pesticides, also having negative ecological impacts already. That's why now social media started to push this for. Now the result is that the Laotian government have asked to stop this kind of banana plantations in the northern part of Laos. So my point here is a challenge to the way of Chinese investment in infrastructures that should be more ecologically oriented. But the way that is going on is because the civil society, the context of policy is very much state to state and not open for civil society or for policy making, which sensitive to the very issue that you are concerned. So I am here interested in the issue of the identity of the complicated identity of China. What China? What China? Because there are, you use the word interest groups, but there are a lot of project going on in the region is worrying along the line that it goes that side stronger than the positive ecological civilization concern. So what should we do together?
Good. You finish? Okay. So I also want to emphasize one of my key points. That is another one. I once emphasized the capital in anywhere, means in any country, or in any Asian, always be the capital. So the capital means the capital, means that no matter it's individual capital, it's a foreign capital, it's a Chinese government's capital, or it's other government's capital, and other names capital. Capital always everywhere is the same. So the human society, I mean our people's movements, the social movements, must do something to first prevent ourselves, second, prevent our environment. Because human beings are part of nature beings. So that is why we are more emphasize the ecological civilization. That is the way for all of the human beings and the nature beings. Meanwhile, we should also pay attention to the world problem, that is the oversupply. Not only oversupply by industrial capacity, industrial products, but most dangerous is the oversupply of the money, means that the financial capital. So if you're something like, you like Marxism, or I don't know how to use these very academic words to describe the source. But anyway, we are more emphasized the main contradiction. What is the major issue? What is the main contradiction? The main contradiction nowadays in the world, I mean the most critical danger in the world, is that the leading country use their financial capital as a weapon to beat up all of us. That is must be the main concerns for all of us. The other problems created by the industrial capital and for harm to the environments and the social society and so on and so on, it's bad. We need to criticize. We need to recorrect. We need to strengthen our social movements, to do something, to prevent people, to prevent the nature. Yes. But nowadays, the first, I need you to take into consideration almost all of our intellectuals should know or must know what's the main challenge, what is the main contradiction. The main contradiction must be the financial capital surplus, and then to destroy almost everything. That is why I emphasize the financial capital fascism since 15 years ago. And the second, I got to emphasize, as I mentioned, that capital is capital anywhere, the same. We should do something against the capital destroy our life. That is no doubt. We all have the same ideas. But I need to emphasize what is the main contradiction. And then what we should take into consideration for this time's conference, not repeat the old ideas. So the second, I also need to mention that I am a kind of Chinese scholar. We are a kind of intellectual group. We also need to have very hard struggle, very hard work inside to give the comments to the government's policy, especially the government's overseas policy. We should give them a lot of big lessons that originally made by Western countries, to make them to understand what is the social movements in other world, in other countries. That is why we carried out the comparative studies among these emerging seven. That is also why we must do something about the southern trap, the trap in South countries. We should give more lessons, more informations to the Chinese governments when they control the capital. That is because the Chinese party leadership still be very important mechanism of the governance of the state-owned enterprises. So that is the second point I also need to emphasize. That means that we still have a lot of work to do. This work is very hard. So we hope that most of these participants here in the conference can contribute positive experience.
Okay.
We can do something together. We can make our efforts to make this world going progressive, going better than nowadays. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have another question from Dr. Fernando over here.
Thank you, Professor Wen. I'm Jude Lal Fernando, born in Sri Lanka.
From where?
Born in Sri Lanka, living in Ireland in exile.
I'm sorry, I haven't caught you. From where?
Sri Lanka.
Born in Sri Lanka, living in
Sri Lanka?
Yes, but living in exile in Republic of Ireland.
Republic Island.
Yes.
爱尔兰共和国现在在那边居住。
在爱尔兰。
流放是流放。
是斯里兰卡人在爱尔兰住是吗？
他现在是流放。
哦，流放
是流放。
I don't know.
Now, what you said is very convincing, that the financial capital is the main factor. But at the same time, there are concrete manifestation of this contradiction when it comes to different countries of the world. I think we also need to take into account the concrete manifestation of the contradiction if and when we want to resist the hegemony.
Excuse me, I cannot catch you. Somebody maybe write down and then give me an explanation. It's difficult for me to follow you.
Okay.
You just speak, and then I hope that some people can help me to translate.
Okay, go ahead, finish.
Now, I am referring to the militaristic manifestation here. Let me say China had trillions of dollars of investments in Libya.
Dollars?
Yes.
Trillions of dollars in Libya?
In Libya. Okay, and let me say once the NATO and once the NATO decided, led by the US and the Brits, to attack Libya, China withdrew simply. That's one.
The BRICS.
Yes. Okay.
Brazil.
No, BRICS. We call British. The British.
The BRICS.
Okay. Not BRICS. Okay. And same with, let me say, South Sudan. Okay. As you know, separation of South Sudan and North Sudan. Yes, there were real grievances that the South Sudanese people felt.
Now you turn to Sudan?
Yes, and yes, Sudan. Okay.
Yeah, and there's also treaties in Sudan?
No, I do not know the figure. Okay, but as you know, huge amount of oil export from South Sudan came to China. Okay, and that was the main reason for the Western governments to back the South Sudanese independent movement. Okay, now let me say now, when it comes to Sri Lanka, China was the first foreign mission which had trade discussions with the Tamil Tigers in 2002 during the peace process. I'm giving concrete examples. And China was very pragmatic because there was to be a political solution between the Tamils and the Sinhala government, and it sent the trade mission. Okay? That was a very, very good move. And once the British and the Americans put forward a militaristic solution to the Sri Lankan conflict, China started supporting the same militaristic agenda for a different reason. Okay? And now the Americans are more in Sri Lanka. Of course, China has huge amount of investments, but the state of Sri Lanka is in the hands of the British and the American powers very clearly. Okay? And the Tamil resistance movement, which was really giving a different alternative, a socialist alternative, has been totally destroyed, even with the support of the Chinese government at the end. Okay? So what I want to say is I 100% embrace your analysis with regard to the financial capital. At the same time, 100% endorse your appeal to the social movements to get that analysis. But I want to add one more. That is, there is the militaristic dimension, and we also need to recognize that dimension. And the clearest example is the destruction of the Tamil resistance movement with the support of the Chinese government. Of course, that is not the Chinese government's agenda. It is the American-British agenda, which was followed by the Chinese, and that really destroyed another model which would have been exemplary in South Asia to resist financial capital.
Thank you. Anyway, and I have no information about Libya, South Sudan, and Sri Lanka, and the Chinese army or military to invade or to interfere. I have no information. But if you do have the evidence to show that Chinese governments did such kind of foolish actions, you'd better leave this material, written materials, and then maybe I can read it and then to transfer the information to such kind of stupid governments. And but up to now, I cannot give you a very exact answer because I have no such kind of information. But personally, I think that if Chinese government did it, that must be crazy. Thank you, anyway.
No, I did not say at all that the Chinese military or the military went to Sri Lanka. I simply said that China was too pragmatic. Of course, Chinese government sold weapons to the Sri Lankan government. But it is the Hawaii-based US Pacific Command which gave to the Sri Lankan government the list of weapons that should be used. China sold.
OK， Alright， 他补充一下，补充一下，就是他并不是说中国政府就是说所谓的 military dimension， 他这几个例子指的并非说中国政府有参与在这个军事介入里面啊，而是说他整个这个中国政府在几个个案当中，跟特别是西方大国在这个地区的一些利益的这个他们的关系，他们的周全的关系当中 ，Chinese government 采用的一个比较，他用的字眼是 pragmatic 的这个态度，就是说比较务实的态度吧。可是后来的结果是他所说的，这我想他这个大方向他所指的。So I think that clarification is important because he didn't mean that there was direct military intervention in that. But I think we could further exchange information and discuss this particular issue. I'm looking at my watch and trying to see if there are one more questions before we end the session. Yeah, well, back there, please. Please ask and mention who you are.
Professor Wen, this is Chantana from Thailand.
From where?
Thailand.
Thailand, okay.
I'm Surishai's boss.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure how to place China, whether we, as a country, from a country like Thailand, should we place China as one of the global hegemony, or we place China as one of the South? But that's not my main question. My main question is that what is the alternative development offered by China? And we have heard about the foreign direct investment strategy, and foreign FDI was used before by East Asian countries in Southeast Asia, and now it is used by China, as if your explanation is FDI in fact helped the world going into war. But I'm not sure whether you can have some assessment whether China is now leading to a new, not mainstream development that happened before. I'm not sure whether I'm making myself clear.
Can you repeat your second question just briefly?
I'd like to know how you think of our foreign direct investment. We've heard from you as the strategy China used to avoid, to fix the problem of overproduction so that the world will not go into war. But foreign direct investment was used before, in East Asian countries, to Southeast Asia and to other parts of the world. And now we begin to see more and more China using this strategy. My question is that, what's your opinion about this as the development strategy of the world?
All right.
They in the same line of the last two interventions?
I'd rather you take it one by one because it will be.
No, it's the same point.
Okay, quickly.
No,
Tiejun.
just in the same line of the last two interventions, an example in the case of Latin America. This pragmatism has also contributed not to the military strategy of the United States and the British, but to the economic war against the progressive governments in Latin America. In the case of Ecuador, you have the blackmailing of Chinese enterprises, oil enterprises, against the Ecuadorian government. You have the interest rates in the loans of China, the conditions in the loans of China, in harsher conditions than the World Bank and the IMF, and you have a lot of impositions in the contracts that the Chinese enterprises have with the Ecuadorian government that are asphyxiating the Ecuadorian economy.
Okay, thank you. 所以两个问题，第二个问题，他说就是in the same line， 可是他当然就用的那个拉丁美洲的这个大的个案，就是说中国的态度，务实的态度哈，可能就是间接的影响了经济方面的战争。那请你回答第一个问题，就是问关于 FDI strategy 你的看法。第一个问题，Thailand 那位学者提问的，听到吗
？I have said just now the capital in anywhere is the same. So Chinese capital also made a lot of bad things inside and outside. So whatever you criticize, it's just for me personally, I think that I can accept, because I also criticize the capital inside. So capital outside as a foreign direct investments must negotiate with the local society and with the local power, especially with the local governments and the local enterprises. So that is the negotiation among these interest group. And then it's the same in the world. Anywhere, I think that is very popular. So whatever you think is right or is wrong, I said that up to now, let me give this whole of your critiques and give you an answer together. I believe there is nothing can be computed as a better conclusion. The global competition is computed to the back. So which one is somehow little bit better than the worst? That may be longer than others. It means that the global capital competition in this world is the main contradiction. And the main contradiction just happened inside of different capital. That is the key point I have to emphasize. So there's nothing to be good, but little bit less bad or less worse. So if you think that is maybe I think that using the Chinese capital in Latin American countries is not benefits the local situation. Maybe that will be refused or be lose. So nowadays, I think that the Chinese capital as a FDI in other countries now have a big cost and lose a lot. So that is a real situation. So I just want to understand that my final conclusion is that the global competition, especially the global financial capital competition, no winner. Nothing good. So it seems that it's competed to worse or competed to worst. So which one died earlier? So which one is the loser? And then finally, there must be somebody still be alive. And then there's the last one is how to say that? It's the last one means the last die. So I only can give you the regulation. I think that to be the economist, the regulation is a regulation. Regulation is objective, not subjective. No matter you like it or not like it. I just tell you the truth. Okay, can I finish?
Okay, thank you, Professor Wen, and thank you everyone who has contributed to this this session, this discussion. I think it's a very worthwhile discussion, and it will hopefully feature it into our continued dialogue in the next few days. Thank you again, Professor Wen, for joining us.